think of the concept of spare time. If you're like most people, you probably think of everything outside business and work as spare time, extra time that can be spent doing something that you really like. What do you do in your spare time? Do you play sports? Do you read or watch TV? Are you the sort of person who spares time for your family? When talking about the concept of time management, the first thing you have to realize is that it really depends on what balance you like to create. Later, goal-setting exercises will help you realize what type of balance you would like to create in your life. You may have to reevaluate why you've chosen to become an entrepreneur. Are you the type of person who sees work as the center of your life, or merely as a means to an end? People work for different reasons, and these reasons change with age. Perhaps the most important questions you can ask yourself as you begin to create new time management habits are: why do I work? And what do I work for? This can leave you off balance simply because you're spending too much time on work. Work is not the end of everything. It's supposed to contribute to the quality of your life. If work is the only factor in your life, and you find that you have to spare time for everything else, then you must take a step back. Before creating good time management habits, it helps to identify bad habits that you already have and how this impacts on your work. Knowing exactly what you're looking for will help you troubleshoot those habits in the future. Working at home can lead to many distractions that can suck up time and leave you wondering where it went at the end of the day. The symptoms of this are easy to spot. Imagine that you can see your lawn from where you're sitting. Instead of hunkering down and doing the reports that you need for your customers or laying out tomorrow's inventory, you decide to mow the lawn instead. It takes you 30 minutes. You get back to your desk and a friend of yours calls, asking about the upcoming fishing trip next weekend. You spend an hour happily discussing plans. Situations like this can also happen in the small business setting. Imagine that you're trying to organize shipments online and then an old friend starts chatting with you over Messenger. You spend 30 minutes catching up and realize that you never did get around to doing what you needed to do. Give your desk a quick once-over. Are you already the organized type of person where you have everything in its place? Can you find what you need in less than a minute, or do you need to root through piles of paperwork and desk detritus just to get one file out? Okay, now take a look at your computer files. Are your files arranged? Do you spend precious minutes or even hours looking for a single file that you saved 10 months ago? Do you forget file names and get frustrated just looking for one single thing? Is your PC desktop cluttered with files that have been there for years and that you've only used once? Are you currently browsing through the internet while watching this? Do you have several blogs, YouTube, and other unnecessary windows open? These are just a few symptoms of impractical time management. Changing these minute things can turn your day into something much more efficient. If you spend more time looking for something than actually doing something, then you have a problem. Procrastination, cramming, overload. Procrastination is by far the #1 time management killer. For example, let's say you need to submit that business plan for a loan evaluation at the bank next week. This is an opportunity that you simply cannot afford to miss, especially if your business needs startup capital to work. You have 1 week to go, you think, so you shrug it off. Instead of working on the business plan and proposal, you spend ages playing Minesweeper. You download videos, you listen to music, you do 1,001 other things other than actually working on the proposal. Tasks that have absolutely no bearing to your end goal whatsoever. 6 days later, you're on your 4th mug of coffee while desperately drawing up a business plan. You're not just burning the midnight oil, you find that you're in the midst of a conflagration. How did this happen? But I work best under pressure, you say. Now, that's an outright lie. You could have spent 6 or 7 days polishing up the proposal and getting your presentation right. Instead, you show up at the bank obviously lacking sleep and lacking the energy to get the proposal right. Now this is a simple scenario, but serial procrastinators allow tasks to pile up to the point where it demotivates them, to the point where everything is done in a hurry. And anyone who's ever had to cram a 25-page term paper in one night knows the stress that this habit can bring on. Now, are you sure you want to be under that kind of pressure your entire life? In an age where people are buried hip-deep in technology, multitasking is looked upon as a much-needed skill. Now, this is the ability to do simultaneous tasks, like checking email and listening to music. But is it really all that it's cracked up to be? It seems like an easy way to manage time, right? Get two things done at once so you finish up faster. A recent British study showed that when people engage in multitasking, the less focused they actually are on a task. Concentration levels dip and people perform less effectively than people who rarely multitask. So, when you're multitasking, are you actually sabotaging yourself? Well, yes, but you don't know that you're doing it. These bad habits are the weeds that you have to kill, the DPM. These are the most common time-killing habits that people exhibit in work and life environments. Guilty? Well, don't be, because these habits can't be changed. You're not going to be stuck with them for the rest of your life if you know how to recognize and fix them. As an entrepreneur, a possible small-time business owner, or an owner of a larger business, you're probably looking for more ways to create efficiency, not just in yourself, but in your workforce. Now, let's go back to the DPM model. If you see these symptoms of time management disease in your business, you'll definitely see points for improvement. Hannah is in charge of inventory for a high-class restaurant. She's new at the job and is still muddling through most of the procedures. She's not yet made any contacts with the local grocers, fishmongers and markets, and is relying on her predecessor's notes to help her out. She opens up the computer and accesses the files. Hannah takes one look at the files and her heart simply sinks into her stomach. The previous manager's notes are a mess. She can't find phone numbers or even inventory records going back at least 6 months. It will take her at least a week to sort things out. How's Hannah going to take stock and prepare herself for the daily restaurant rush? Now let's take a look at Anne and Bob. Anne has great time management skills. She always turns her work in on time, and basically she's happy and a stress-free employee. You feel lucky to have her on your team. Bob, on the other hand, is highly qualified for the role that you gave him. But there's just one little problem. He's always late for everything. Reports never come in on time, and you're met with a barrage of excuses. Yet, most days you see Bob playing solitaire on company time, spending valuable hours that you're paying for loafing off at work. As the company owner, what do? Well, most people would answer, fire Bob. But what if you could solve Bob's problems in an easier way? 3 years ago, Jill launched her handicraft business. She started out with nothing but a computer and some really good ideas. A year ago, Jill needed to start hiring employees and had enough profit to actually buy a small storefront in a moderately busy area. Her employees handled both the selling and shipping aspects of the business. Since hiring employees, Jill's noticed that productivity has actually gone down and not up, yet her employees are always busy. These scenarios are common small business scenarios that put a huge drain on your business. One unproductive employee, terrible record keeping, and even just chronic multitaskers can cost you money, overhead, labor, and maybe even a few fines. Imagine if the ill-kept records are for taxes. Go through your workday as you normally do. Keep a list of things that you do all day, including the times that you leave your desk to take a break. Take note of how many times you're interrupted and how many times you interrupt tasks to do something else, like surf the internet. Remember to take note of the following things: how much time you spend browsing email, how much time you spend looking at websites that are not related to your work, work-related phone calls and texts, how much time it takes you to make these phone calls, non-work-related phone calls or texts, and yes, that even includes that 5-minute phone call from your spouse asking how your day was, the time you spend on search engines, instant messages, and social networking sites, how many breaks you take during the day, even if you're working at home. Any period of time spent not working can be considered a break. Remember to also include your normal coffee and lunch breaks. Also, note down if you are not able to get lunch or if you ate lunch while working because you had so much to do. Note down the things you tend to multitask. Take note of the errands you had to run during the day. And finally, jot down your commute time if you have any. Now, once you've noted down your activities for a couple of days, classify them as productive and non-productive. Now evaluate. Do you spend more time doing productive or non-productive things? How many minutes do you spend per activity? The second step to diagnosing your bad time habits is extending this activity tracker to include everything you do every day, even when you've technically left work already. This is important because time management shouldn't just be something that you do at work, but something that you can extend to the rest of your day. Take general notes about how much time you spend watching TV, working out, how much time you spend with your family and friends, or sleeping. It doesn't have to be as exact and detailed as the log for work, but it will give you an idea of what you want to spend more time on besides just work. To diagnose a pattern, try keeping a light log of what you do every day for 3 days to a week. You'll be surprised at what you've been doing and how much time you spend doing other things. One business owner who tried this out actually realized that he was spending 3.5 hours of his day smoking cigarettes, his definition of a break. He restricted his break to just half an hour and gained 3 hours of productive time just by noting down this one habit. Okay, once you've diagnosed your bad habits, the next thing to do is to move into planning and goal setting, because this is the easiest way to save time. And we'll cover that in the next video.